Good morning. Happy Pride. You might be nice and black, or you might just be off-white. You might be brown or pink or something else, and that's alright. You might say you're a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew, a Sufi or a Buddhist, humanist or atheist too, but you're a child of God. It makes no difference who you are or where you've been. Everybody sins, everyone's forgiven. You're a child of God, and that's the end. You might be a woman, or you might be a man. You might have been Samantha in the body of a Sam. You might sleep with women, you might sleep with men. Maybe you did once, and now say never again. You're a child of God. Makes no difference who you are or where you've been. Everybody sins, everyone's forgiven. You're a child of God, and that's the end. You might have stole some money, or you might have told some lies, cheated on your taxes, or played with loaded dice. Spent some time on websites seeing things you shouldn't see. Cheated on your lover, made a fool out of me. You're a child of God. Makes no difference who you are or where you've been. Everybody sins, everyone's forgiven. You're a child of God, and that's the end. You might work in a bank, or you might be unemployed. You might love your job, or you might just be annoyed. Might be for waiting for manna from above. You might have done for money what you wouldn't do for love. You're a child of God. Makes no difference who you are or where you've been. Everybody sins, everyone's forgiven. You're a child of God, and that's the end. You might have been a hippie or a lover of guns. You might have had a habit, or you might have been a nun. You might like Richard Nixon, or you might like JFK. You might have been a sinner on this very day. You're a child of God. Makes no difference who you are or where you've been. Oh, everybody sins, everyone's forgiven. Oh, everybody sins, everyone's forgiven. Everybody sins, everyone's forgiven. You're a child of God, and that's the end. Amen.
God, gather us in, the lost and the lonely, the broken and breaking, the tired and aching, who long for the nourishment held in your hands. The done and the doubting, the wishing and wondering, the puzzled and pondering, who long for the company held in your hands. The proud and pretentious, the sure and superior, the never inferior, who long for the leveling held in your hands. The bright and the bustling, the stirrers, the shakers, the kind laughter makers, who long for the deeper joys held in your hands. From corner or limelight, from mansion or campsite, from fears and obsession, from tears and depression, From untold excesses, from treasured successes, to meet, to greet, to be given a seat, be joined to the vine, be offered new wine, become like the least, to be found at the feast.
Please stand as you're able, and we will sing Welcome to the Mystery. Welcome to the mystery. Welcome to the great I am. Welcome to the family of the living and the angel band. Welcome to all us sinners and saints. Welcome to believers and to those who ain't. Welcome to the mystery. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the tapestry. Welcome to the holiness. Welcome to the rest of us, the ones with no box to check. Welcome to all us, none of the above. Welcome to the lovers who never get the love. Welcome to the mystery. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the jamboree. Welcome to the crazy quilt. Welcome to the big party where we're gonna take you to the hill. Welcome to the place where all the outs are in. Welcome to the one where love begins. Welcome to the mystery. Welcome to the family.
You may be seated. The word amen is a not straightforwardly translatable little thought nugget that means something like, may it be so, or indeed, or verily, verily. Amen is, in effect, the way that church people say, heck yes. So I'd like you to try that with me, church people. Let me hear you say, heck yes. Okay, so now if you believe that church should leave no one in the lurch, and whether gay or bi or straight, trans or cis, no one's piety should be besmirched, let me hear you say, heck yes. And if you believe that religion can be a means of overcoming division and suspicion, a means of bringing us together, even just a smidgen, let me hear you say, heck yes. And if you are awed that today in this house of God we would catch a glimpse of a love so broad, encompassing us all of us, no matter who we are, where we've been, what we've done, if you think this is not odd, but something worthy to applaud, let me hear you say, heck yes. If you are ready to hear our preacher Todd Smith bring a word, let me hear you say, heck yes. If you are ready to sing out and to celebrate the good news of God's radical love for all people, and to take that singing and celebrating to the streets, let me hear you say, heck yes. Okay, let me hear you shout it as loud as you can. Shout it one last time, heck yes. Because now let's do that quiet as a church mouse thing and listen for a word from God.
A reading from the Gospel according to Matthew. When the Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. "Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest?" He said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So ends the reading. May God bless us with understanding.
I'm going to ask y'all to pray with me real quick. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be ever acceptable in your sight, O God, our rock and redeemer. Amen. I'd like to open with a poem from my favorite poet, Nikki Giovanni. This poem doesn't have a title, so I just call it Love Is. Some people forget that love is tucking you in and kissing you goodnight, no matter how young or old you are. Some people don't remember that love is listening and laughing and asking questions, no matter your age. Few recognize that love is commitment, responsibility, no fun at all, unless love is you and me. Now, with that passage we read today, love your neighbor as yourself. Who's heard this before? I hope everybody's hands are up, because I mean, it's sort of a cultural mantra, right? A guiding principle that rolls off the tongue as if I'm teaching a 5-year-old how to behave with the other kids on his first day of kindergarten. No hitting, no name calling, no biting, things like that. Don't do things that would generally hurt other kids because it's not how you would want to be treated, is it? Now, for full disclosure, I heard something similar to this in my first week of kindergarten, not the first day, but in my first week, for nearly doing all of those things. It worked. I didn't do those things after teacher sat me down and told me, don't do those things because you don't want someone to do them to you. Teacher was right. I didn't want somebody to do them to me, so I stopped doing them. Experience is a good teacher like that. Now, this passage seems so simple, but there's so much more to it than playground lessons. And I'll admit, after having read this passage over 100 times or so, I'm usually inclined to skim through it when it comes up in my devotional study, which is part of the reason why I chose it today. Because to preach it, I needed to read it carefully, turning it under light as a jeweler turns a stone, searching for that precious angle. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Now, it's that last line that gets me. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. 2 commandments with a 3-fold lesson. Love God, your neighbor, love yourself. This is everything. And it's the hardest thing. Now, I'm not usually one to gush like this, but I'm in a 6 months new relationship with someone who loves me in all of those parts that I have a hard time loving, and in all of those parts that I didn't think were okay to be loved growing up trans in a more conservative town. Now, she's kind, generous, fierce, and really direct. And they're all qualities that I absolutely love about her. And this relationship has unearthed abounding joy in my heart, opening me to possibilities that are at once fulfilling and terrifying. And for all of the joy, this relationship has challenged me more than any relationship I've ever had. Each day I'm challenged to listen harder, to open my heart wider. Each day I'm challenged to grow into a better version of myself, which takes sacrifice, compromise, and sometimes brutal honesty. I don't always succeed. And when I don't succeed, I am challenged to ask for forgiveness. Each day I make the decision to love because the alternative feels like misery. Because this kind of lasting joy requires that I evaluate my priorities, which I haven't necessarily been great at, but truth be told, I learn a little more each day. I learned to love like this by loving God. Because connection to God only comes from having a relationship with God that is rooted in this kind of love. From challenge comes growth. From growth, we get a more intimate understanding of how much we humans need connection. This love challenges us, inspiring us to be better. This love forgives when we ask for it, and this love is willing to put in the work to strengthen those bonds of connection. And it's the work between these two beings that consecrates this connection. Call it holy tension, if you will. And this love is the glue holding our society together. This love that challenges and inspires us is what holds us together, and without it, we fall apart. Now, someone once told me that Pride is about celebrating love, that it's a happy occasion, and there's like no reason to get all like political and stuff. And I agreed with the first part, and the second part, I kind of like cocked my ears, like, what? Yes, Pride is about celebrating love. It is a very joyous occasion. But its origins are in a community that's challenging the status quo. This parade was once a protest, and those identifying as LGBTQ+ must remember that, especially as the rights of transgender people come up for a vote this November. Love must be you and me. Together, we can celebrate the joy we find in the uniqueness of our being while challenging systems that threaten it. Love must be you and me, because apart, love becomes nothing more than a saying to be packaged and sold. Love must be you and me, because it's the bond between us that keeps us hanging on. On these two commandments hang all of the law and the prophets. So let's be love. Amen.
how about the band today? Carved deeply in stone over Old South Church's portico, through which you enter today, are these words from the book of Revelation. Behold, I have set before thee an open door. And the rest of that line, not in stone, but in the Bible, which no one dare shut. That's how it goes, right? Which no one dare shut. We understand these words to be a warning, a directive, an edict from Rabbi Jesus. I have set before you an open door, and don't you dare shut it. The effort of opening doors, prying doors open, of putting our collective weight into it, of putting our minds and our hearts and our souls into it, of pushing and straining until doors once closed are open again. This has been, this continues to be our collective work, the work of justice and mercy and beauty. In the name of the God who hung the stars in the heavens, the God who created us, each of us, the God who created you in God's own image and likeness. In the name of this God, we are door openers. Behold, I have set before you an open door. Don't you dare shut it. And so it is that we are pleased this year to present Old South Church's annual Open Door Award to a door-bashing, barrier-crashing, hinge-releasing, lock-picking organization, Freedom for All Massachusetts. Freedom for All Massachusetts is represented here today in this sanctuary by Taj Smith, a graduate of Harvard Divinity School, who is in discernment about going into ministry. We think he should, right? Freedom for All Massachusetts, whose work it has been and continues to be to open doors, large, heavy doors, doors that protect gender identity in the Commonwealth public accommodations laws. They got that door opened, and we have to keep it there. Freedom for All Massachusetts was founded in 2015 for just that purpose. And a year later, that very law was passed by an overwhelming bipartisan supermajority in both legislative chambers. Freedom for All Massachusetts, represented here today by their faith organizing director, Taj Smith, is the organization we honor and thank. Thank you, Taj, on behalf of Freedom for All Massachusetts, for upholding and for enshrining into law dignity, opportunity, equality for transgender persons in Massachusetts. May this Open Door Award serve as a small recognition of our high thanksgiving for your leadership, for being the Commonwealth's own gate-bashing, barrier-crashing, hinge-releasing, lock-picking, open-door organization. Amen?
God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way. Before I go any further, let me say to you all what I hope you've already heard today. You look so good. When we leave this place, this sacred space, let us leave blessed. Blessed with memory, blessed with hope, blessed with strength. Let us not forget. In the words of James Weldon Johnson, let us not forget that our ancestors, our friends, family, and loved ones who have gone on before us, that we ourselves have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come trudging a path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last. Blessed, blessed with hope. As we struggle and rally and lobby for more, let us not ignore or disparage all that has been done already, all that we have already accomplished. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Blessed with strength. Let us not ignore or belittle our own power. Let us march on till victory is won. In the words of Anurati Roy, our strategy should be not only to confront empire, but to lay siege to it, to deprive it of oxygen, to shame it, to mock it with our art, our music, our literature, our stubbornness, our joy, our brilliance, our sheer relentlessness, and our ability to tell our stories. So, as we are about to leave this sacred space, remember, there are precious, glad hours when we are at the brim of joy, when we glory anew in life's great gifts. Everything in us swells up. So, lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. So let the church say amen. Amen. Let the church say heck yes. Yes. Let the church say hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let the church say happy Pride. Happy Pride.
What a better time could there be to ask you to open up your wallets, right? So everything we receive today will go directly out to support the great organizing and advocacy work that Freedom Massachusetts is undertaking this campaign season. They've also passed out commitment cards, and if you can beg, borrow, or steal a pen from a neighbor and drop that in the plate too, they would love to be in receipt of that. If you can't find a pen, but I'm sure you'll get some swag along the parade route today, you can always drop it back at our church front desk, or mail it in, or find them and do volunteer. Money's great, and also people power is great too, so give generously.
Said we all want to get to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Well, I said everyone wants love, but we don't all try. Love, it's widely known, it's something we all need, but you got to give it without strings in order to receive. I'm talking about love. Talking about love, yeah. Talking about love. Talking about love. Some people twine their love into words as rich as pearls, and some can't say those syllables if it would save the world. Some people bake their love into toasted loaves of meat. Some just let it simmer now in sauce tangy and sweet. I'm talking about love. Talking about love. Talking about love. Talking about love. Now break it down for me, Doug.
I feel the weight of the world on my shoulder. As I get older, your people get colder. Most of us only seem to care about money making. Self-disguise following the wrong direction. Wrong information always shown by the media. Negative images is the main criteria. Infecting their minds faster than bacteria. Kids want to act like what they see in the cinema. Whatever happened to the values of humanity? Whatever happened to the fairness and equality? Instead of spreading love, we're spreading animosity. A lack of understanding leading lines away from unity. That's the reason why sometimes I'm feeling
Under.
That's the reason why sometimes I'm feeling
Down.
Ain't no wonder why sometimes I'm feeling
Under.
I gotta keep my faith alive till love is found.
Where is the love?
Now some people guard it jealously as if it's in short supply, and some give it so lightly as if the cost weren't high. Some think that it's a weakness for love to show its face and say its name so softly it's gone without a trace. I'm talking about love. Talking about love, yeah. Love, 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 love. Talking about love, yeah. But I'm talking about love. Well, Stevie said that love's in need of love today, and I say Stevie's right, and he would be any day. So when you see your neighbor so easy to despise, instead be like a mama looking in her newborn's eyes. I'm talking about love, yeah. Talking about love, 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 love. Talking about love, sister. I'm talking about love.
Please stand as you are able, and we will sing together our closing hymn, We Shall Not Be Moved.
That sounded pretty good, you all down there. Love that. A few announcements. If you are an Old Souther, if you are marching with Old South Church in the Pride Parade, gather back in the Gordon Chapel just across the way. You'll get news and announcements and directions and all of that good stuff there. All the rest of you, if you should have, if you're marching with another group, information from them about where to be lining up, or good luck finding a great shaded spot today. You're out a little bit early, so you've got plenty of time to snag a great one. Thank you all for being with us today. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God look upon you with kindness and give you peace this day and every day. And let the whole church say, Amen. Go in peace.